So, today I want to talk about a very important topic, racism in America. And I know that sounds cliche, doesn't it? But I really want to talk about racism in America from the perspective of a Black immigrant, particularly an African immigrant like myself. So, I think that there is this anti racist movement going around, and it really started up in 2020. And I think that in theory, being anti racist is a positive thing, right? I want everyone to be against racism, which is what anti racist means. But I think that the way that it has been implemented here in the United States is actually pretty harmful. Because you hear a lot of phrases such as underserved minority communities. You never hear about the great minority communities that have accomplished a lot of things or that are, privileged in some ways. You never really hear people talk about minorities from a perspective of, privilege, right? And I think that it comes from what I consider the white savior complex. And I know that might aggravate some people, that phrase, because it is a principle or an idea that, the white people would go to African countries, go to a remote African village, take pictures with Black children, and then post on social media and talk about helping all these helpless Black kids. I would consider that a white savior complex because you know exactly what I'm talking about. Just go look at a picture of that. I also would consider the white savior complex that we have here as an issue as well, because it is these people that paint themselves as these anti-racist people that are advocating for minorities and helping minorities, and that is great in concept, but I don't need anybody to advocate for me. I want to use my voice and I want to speak for myself. But I feel as though a lot of white people in this country feel like they have to advocate for minorities because we can't do it ourselves, right? We're underserved, we're are oppressed, we are all these horrible, harmful things. We are never anything positive. So that is where my problem lies in this so-called anti-racist movement. You can be anti-racist, but you don't need to advocate for me. You don't need to speak for me. You don't need to think less of me because of my race. And for those people probably hearing this would be offensive to them because they might think that, well, we're just trying to help. And I do believe that a lot of these people come from a good place, but they don't realize that their implementation is harmful, because it feels as though no matter what I do in my life, no matter what I achieve in my life, I will never be as privileged as a white woman. That is ultimately how I feel. And I've talked about this on my page, but I really want to elaborate my thoughts here because I am not a damsel in distress. Though it feels as though I am constantly this damsel in distress that needs to be saved by the privileged white person. That is literally how it feels. So I'm going to talk about myself here for a second and explicitly why I feel as though I am not in a position of oppression, or I don't feel that I am in a underserved community. I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in computer science. I make well over six figures a year. I am worth well over six figures. I am a homeowner with my husband. I am well respected within my community, and I don't have a criminal background. No criminal record at all. So my question for these people is, what the hell is it going to take for me to be seen as privileged? Am I always going to be oppressed because of my skin color, regardless of what I accomplish? Like, am I still going to be more oppressed or less than Sally in Alabama that makes $55K a year and has $100,000 of debt? Am I still going to be less than Sally in Alabama? I really want to understand this because these people are acting like they're helping me. But for you to continuously see me as less than because of my skin color and my gender, is actually pretty harmful. That's why I think that it's important for me to say that I am not a damsel in distress. I actually would consider myself fairly privileged, considering where I am today in life. Perhaps not where I was, that, I came here on political asylum, my family had no money, I built a life for myself. And I would consider where I'm at in life currently to be a pretty darn good privilege. And I would put myself, financially at least, and, in terms of financial stability, above quite a few people, especially considering my age. I'm 26. And I'm not saying this to be cocky or rude or arrogant. I'm just saying this so that people understand that I don't consider myself to be oppressed. I don't consider myself to be all these negative things that people consider minorities to be. I think that people really need to be careful of the way that they talk about Black women in this country and the way that they characterize us as these damsels in distress. That is the most accurate way I could really describe it, is that to many of these people, I am a damsel in distress. I am helpless and I need the help of the government and white people, or else I'll never be successful. And if I fail at something or I make a mistake, it's because of racism. Just because of racism. There's no other explanation. So when you do this and you give me this easy cop-out to just excuse my race, right? It's not fair. It's not fair to just erase everything that I've accomplished because my skin tone is a little darker than some other people. It's not fair. And I don't think life is fair. But just consider, for once, the way that you talk about minority women. So instead of focusing on helping the minority Black damsels in distress, right? Maybe consider helping all of those in distress, regardless of their race and regardless of their gender. I think the message should be to help people that need help. That's it. I think that it's as simple as that. This has been a great discussion on racism in America. I hope that you learned a lot from my personal perspective on this issue. And I don't say any of this to be mean. I don't say any of this to be rude. I say all of this to be honest. And I think that honesty is very valuable these days. And I hope that you listen to this with an open heart and open mind. So thank you so much for listening. I hope to see you next time.